Shalom, this is Levi Shore. Welcome back to Sweet and Good Torah. We got Rabbi Mordecai Darwish of the Gates of Mordecai. We're going to have an amazing discussion on Sukkos, the Arba Minim, the Lulav and the Esrog, on Koheles, Ecclesiastes, and the secret of what makes a person happy. How can we be happy in this world, and what's real in this world and what's not? You want to jump in with any opening comments, or you want me to set it up, or what do you want to do?
Set us up. Set us up.
I set it up. Okay. Very excited because I've been I've been sick for a long time since before Yom Kippur, so we haven't made a video in a while. So it's good to be back, even though I've been in the sukkah, been in shul, but it's good to be back on the airwaves. Okay, so here we go. So it's interesting. There's a valuable lesson. Sukkot is called Zman Simchasenu. It's called the time of our happiness. But I heard this from Rav Yaakov Weinberg Sal. He said, but what's the secret? It's like it's a time of our happiness. Are we just like instantly happy all of a sudden, in Sukkot? And he said something really, really important, really, really deep, very important. He says, really, it's the time where we can learn how to be happy. Sukkot teaches us how to be happy. And it's also a deep idea that happiness is something that's in our control, right? Because people have all these ideas of what will make them happy, but really, no matter what's happening to us, we can choose to be happy or not, right? You want to
Mhm.
any initial comments or
Yeah, I guess we got to define happy. You got a definition up there?
what simcha, right?
Mm.
So what is simcha? What is happiness? So I think most people, especially like in America in the West, I mean, people think like, well, hey, sure, like if I have this multi-million dollar mansion, and if I have all these, luxury sports cars, and I have this, beautiful wife who's like a model, and I have all these great, perfect kids, and I have like, billions of dollars in the bank, and it's a sunny day, then I'm going to be happy, right?
Yeah, it's kind of like the American dream,
The American dream, right? If I have the wealth, if I have the abundance of wealth, the abundance of intelligence, the abundance of strength, those are the big taivas in the world, like the great strength, athletic ability. If I have all those, then I'll be happy, right?
Okay.
But that's not what Sukkot is teaching us. Like we're learning a very, very different lesson. So what's
Okay.
interesting is that the sukkah itself, so we don't do it as much in America. Like I have a nice little mat of like bamboo, bamboo strips, and that's the skach, that's the covering for the sukkah. But in Israel, usually they'll cut down like palm leaves. They'll have these really nice leaves from the palm tree, and that will be the skach, that will be the covering. And then we wave this arba minim, we wave like we have a little, the esrog, which is it would be great. I guess I should maybe run and get. We have the esrog, which is the citrus fruit, and we have the lulav, which is from the palm tree. It's like the spine of from the palm tree, and then we have the arava, the simple willow leaves, and we have the chadassim, right, and we have the myrtle. But everything's starting to deteriorate, right? And if you've ever done the mitzvah of waving the arba minim, you'll see that it's like it's a contest to try to keep them as healthy as possible as you can for the week, but everything's deteriorating, right? Because in the physical world, everything's short, everything's deteriorating, and that's one of the main lessons, and that's what we're going to see in Koheles, written by King Solomon, as one of the wealthiest men in the world. So he got to experience all, the physical, the spiritual pleasures of the world. And he says, what's really, really important? But if we think about it, our lives, even though our lives seem really long, right? Like, it says in Tehillim, like, a person's life is around 70 years and with great strength, 80 years. And then Bezrat Hashem, we can live to a maximum of 120 years. And that seems like an incredibly long time, but it's like the blink of an eye. So what can we really accomplish in this life? What is permanence? What's going to really make us happy? What's the secret? What's the secret of happiness?
You're asking, or is
I'm
that
asking.
a question?
Or I mean, we're opening up the discussion, but I'm asking, like what's the secret?
Well, at the end of Kohelet, the end of Ecclesiastes, he says,
Let me bring it up here. So you're jumping ahead, but let me bring it up here. So
Oh,
let's set okay.
it's only
I,
going to perpetuate the question. You can
okay.
either answer the question or perpetuate it.
Okay, well, let's
Like,
set it
what do you
up
want to say?
before we bring in the spoilers. Let's set it up a little bit. Okay, so I mean, basically, like King Solomon goes through this whole philosophical discussion, and he was one of the wealthiest men. He was one of the wisest men that ever lived. So he had palaces. I think he had like, did he have like 700 wives and 300 concubines or something? So just like the most beautiful women from all around the world, like were his wives, like princesses of like different countries, right? We're talking the royalty, princes, the most beautiful women in the world. And he lived in these palaces. He built the Beis Hamikdash. He built the temple for Hashem, right in this world. And then he said he started exploring, like, is wisdom better than ignorance? Like, is it better to be a good person than an evil person? But he was saying like Havel Havalim, like everything in this world is like futile under the sun. Because like everything like just in the natural world, it like kind of runs its course and everything wears out. Even the most wealthy man one day is going to die and all his wealth will be left to someone else. And if he doesn't have children, his wealth could just be taken by, who knows, it could just, everything is come. Yeah.
If you think about it, every person in the world is just an accumulation of memories, right? Like, what do you have of yesterday? Nothing, just memories of it,
Yeah.
right? So it's not like, on the one hand, it's not important, and on the other hand, it is important. So like you know what I mean? Like, let's say you're totally rich, right? But you can only eat one steak at a time. You can't, eat five. Even though you can afford five, you can't put five in your mouth at the same time,
Yeah.
right? Your mouth can only chew what your palate can fit in it, right?
Yeah.
You can't fit in more than somebody else,
Yeah.
right? And let's say you go on a wonderful vacation, but let's say someone who doesn't have as much money as you also goes on that vacation. Your eyes are going to see the same things that that person's going to see. Okay,
Yeah.
you're not going to see more. You're not going to look at the mountain and see more because you've attained more wealth,
Yeah.
right? And then same thing with a woman, right? You're not going to have more than one, episode, right? At the same time, it's going to be what it's going to be, right? So at the end of the day, what do you have in your hands once it's gone? You know what I mean? Because every day accumulates, and then you come closer to death. Every day you're one day closer to
Yeah.
dying, to
Yeah.
leaving the world. So let's say there's no continuation in the world. Once you go in the ground, that's it. It's over, right? Lights out. So it doesn't matter if you died with 1 million memories or 30 billion memories. It doesn't, right? Because if it all
Right.
goes to zero, it goes to zero. But
Right.
if there's a continuation, then what you did up until that end point has a significance. And if it has a significance, then you have to ask yourself, what is that significance?
Yeah.
What are we living for? If you have an end point, you understand, and the end point is significant, then you have to, then your life is significant. But if there's no significance to the end point, it's just an end point, then it doesn't matter what we do with it. It's just like the wrapping of our food. We discard it once we're done with it, right? Because it has no significance once its life is over, right? It has significance to hold my food together until I ate it. Once it's done, that's it. I discard it and throw it away. But if it were to continue afterwards, like I would reuse it and repackage it, then it has significance past its original point of entry, right? Or point
Yeah.
of finishing. Same thing with a human. Like, if you say there's an enduring life after this one, then this one has significance. If it doesn't, then it doesn't. And if it doesn't have any significance, then what does it matter how we live our life? What does it matter if we're good or bad? What does it matter if we rape, pillage, steal? What does it matter? What does it matter if we're a good little saint?
Yeah.
Nothing matters. Nothing matters.
Right. So this is the big, right. This is the big question that King Solomon's bringing up. It's an amazing question. If life is very quick, it seems very long. It's like as we get older and older, because Baruch Hashem, you start to accumulate decades of life, and it's seeming like it's very long. But yet, like if you go, Chas V'Shalom, if you go to a Levaya and then you hear kind of the eulogy of a person's life, their whole life, all his loved ones are getting together and they're eulogizing. Right, unfortunately, like my uncle, he was nifter on Rosh Hashanah. So I went, I went to his, Levaya and it's like, and right, and he was full of life, and he loved Corvettes, and he was in his Corvette club, and there's this saying like whoever collects the most toys wins. So I
Wins
think,
exactly. It's a
yeah,
joke because wins
yeah,
what?
yeah, no,
What
but
do you
I,
win?
but it's like it really hits you when you go to someone's Levi. It really hits you because it's like the summary of their life. Like, what was their life? What did they live for? And like, what are we all living for? And it says, like in the Gemara, it's much more valuable to go to like a house of mourning than to go to like a mishta, to go to a wedding. Like everyone loves going to a wedding. Wedding's a new beginning. Wedding's exciting. It's a new start. It's a new family coming into existence. It's the chance to now have kids and grandkids and great grandkids, and that's a big part of life, to pass on life. And that's something a little more permanent than but even if you have Bezrat Hashem, you have this amazing family, this massive family, it's still your life has a shelf life. Like that's the lesson we're learning here, in Sukkah. Like the leaves of the Sukkah, they're wilting, they're wearing out. Our Arba meeting, they're wearing out. But we're finding happiness in this. We're finding happiness, even though this physical life is very temporary. We can find happiness when we connect it to the source, when we connect it to the spiritual source, Hashem, the infinite being, the one who's created all life. When that's our life, so I'll go soon. I'll go to soon the answer sheet. But when that's our life, now we can find really happiness, even though this life can be like a blink of the eye. And like you're saying, like we can never satisfy everything we can never see everything we want to see. We can never hear everything we want to hear. Like I want to hear every great piece of music. Well, there's always more pieces of music, and there's thousands of years of music. You can listen to. You can never listen to them all, or how many times you want to listen to each one. Or seeing a movie, or experiencing something like you're saying, like going on a trip, experiencing different places around the world, or even someone's a billionaire, they could have like a top chef, cook them a gourmet meal every day for every meal. But it's going to get old. Even that's going to get old after a while. Oh, I've had this chef so many times. I've had that chef. There's nothing permanent in this world. So we got to attach. All right, so let's see King Solomon's answer. So he really delved into this, and he lived what people call life to the fullest. Mansions, castles. I mean, he created more in his life than people would ever dream in their lifetime. Experienced more the physical and spiritual pleasures of life. So let's see, what does he say? What's the answer then? What's the final takeaway? Like at the end of all this, right? And he says, Sof Devara Kol, like the end of all of this, the sum of everything, right? He says, Nishma es ha-Elokim yera, right? That you should listen to Elokim. Listen to that aspect of God, the din, the judgment aspect. What do you want to say here?
No, it's Sof Davar Kol Nishma. I heard everything.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay.
Eta
I'm sorry.
Yira.
Yeah.
Fear God. V'etzmi Zutav Shemor.
Yeah, sorry. No, that's good.
Keeping
Sorry.
the
So yeah,
commandments.
Sof
What's
Devara
that
Kol
called?
Nishma. Like after he's experiencing it all, heard it all, thought about it all. This is the Sof Devara Kol Nishma. This is of everything he's heard of, everything he's learned, that Es HaElokim Yera. That Elohim you should fear. What's that mean? He's saying it's valuable. One of the most valuable things we can do in this world is to have that Yira Shemayim, that Yira Elohim, to not follow after the path of bad, meaning to guard ourselves, and then he says v'es mitzvos sav shamor, and guard yourself of all his mitzvahs, observe his mitzvahs, meaning all those mitzvahs lo ta'aseh, what not to do in this world. That's our protection. That's like our safety seal. That keeps us out of trouble. Like don't Hashem says all these mitzvahs are don't commands. Don't do these things in this world. It's going to save us worlds of pain, right? It's going to save us suffering. It's going to save us pain. It's going to save us from going into those places we shouldn't be in. those relationships we shouldn't have, all it's going to save us all that pain and anguish. And then when we do the mitzvahs aseh, it's going to lead us on the good path, right? And then kizek kol hadam. This is a man. This is all of a person. This is all of mankind. This is it, right? This is the secret. This is the answer. Like, what do you want to say?
Oh, it's simpler. It's not so complicated. It's like
Okay.
at the end when you put your 2 feet in the ground and you're going to a dirt nap, a lone dirt nap, you're the accumulation of your commandments that you kept. That's all you are. Like that's a scorecard. The scorecard is the commandments that you kept. It's not the one who with the most toys who wins. It's the one with the most commandments who wins.
But it's an amazing perception of the world because because the Western world, we don't think like that. We think of like, what career do we have? What salary are we making? What trips do we go on? What cars do we have? What house?
So
Yeah.
yeah, so like for it to be a universal truth, it has to apply equally at all times and all regions in the world. Like it has to be true for the last 6,000 years that what he's saying is true. It can't only apply from 1920 to in America. You know what I mean? It has to apply for all eternity, for all humans, all over the globe. It can't just be like, you know what I mean? It has to be, for it to be a universal truth, it has to apply equally to everybody at all times. So, you know what I mean? The commandments and God, who created the world, who commanded the commandments, that applies for everybody, no matter what status or what culture they live under or what time frame they live in.
Mm. Yeah, and it's an interesting idea that, and like the Kabbalistic sources, they talk about this, like the mitzvos that the people do in their lifetime. It makes like their garment, it makes like their clothing in the next world. In the spiritual worlds, you're clothed, like you're not clothed in, like, I don't know what the popular suits are now, like the Armani suit or the Hugo Boss. I don't know. It's the popular Brooks Brother, whatever the fancy suit is. Like, you can buy fancy clothes in this world, all the fashion, in this world. But what really clothes a person is their mitos and their mitzvos, right? Like, what good a person's done in this world, what commandments of Hashem they followed, and how attached we are to Hashem. And this is our happiness. So it's like, so that's why it's possible you can be sick in this world. You can be impoverished at times in this world. And Koheles talks about it. Like, there's certain times, there's a time for death. There's a time, for birth. There's a time, to mourn. There's time to celebrate. Like, there's different times in this world. We experience all these different times in our life. But the thing is that no matter which time we're in, we can be happy if we're attached to what's real. Because there's all these illusions, like the Hevel Havalim of this world. There's all the fantasies of this world. People spend their whole life like chasing after like more money. Like, oh, just be happy if I have more money, or I'll be happy, if I can, this beautiful woman. If I could only marry this beautiful woman, I'll be happy. Or, this car. If I have this car, I'll be happy. Or if I go to this vacation, I'll be happy. It's always like, I'll be happy if. But it's like, but the life of mitzvos, the life that the Torah is teaching us about, that clothes us. That's a life where we can always be happy, because it's not based on anything that's external to us. It can be based on who we are. And
Yeah,
it feels really good when you help someone out. When you have a friend that's like upset or needs help, and you help, or a family member, and you help them, you do that mitzvah, you give them tzedakah, or you give them your time, or you cheer them up. It feels really good. You experience like, that's real. That's real simcha. That's real happiness. When you can bring happiness to someone else,
that's it.
that.
That's only if that's your goal, man. Like whatever you put your goal and your value system on, your measurement of happiness is the extent you reach your goal and your value system. Like if that is your goal and your value system, the extent you do that and you reach that, then you'll be happy, because that's the measurement. It's just like any game we play, you know what I mean? The extent you'll be happy playing the game The game isn't happy unless you succeed within the game.
Right.
You know
Right.
what I mean? The success will bring you the happiness because you put the value to success in that game. Whether it's football, you'll be happy when you score the touchdown. You'll be happy when because you put value on that. It doesn't matter you rack up the yards and everything like that. That's not fun racking up yards. It's when you score and you actually win the game, that's when you'll be happy because you put value into happiness. But let's say you're playing in the game and you're worried about something external to the game. You could still win the game and be upset. You have something going on in your personal life, then you're like, it's just a game, man. You know what I mean? You were in the game, your team won and everything, but you didn't attribute value to it. You attributed value to your paycheck or something, getting paid to play the football game. You don't care. You missed out on a bonus because you didn't get a couple extra yards or something, right? You're going to be upset. Why are you upset? You just won the game. You won, the championship or whatever it is. But no, you attributed something else to your happiness. You know what I mean? You had a different value system. So the extent you reach your goals within your value system, that's what'll make you happy. You
Yeah.
know, if you're playing a different game than everybody else, it doesn't matter. These things are external. Like to one person, he'll be happy with it. The other person won't be happy with it. Your happiness is determined within your mind and within your heart. It's between your ears. It's to the extent you give value to certain things and achievement to them. That's what will determine your happiness or not.
All right, so here we'll play. I'll play a little Kabbalah Gematria magic here. Ready? We're gonna so Hashem gave us 613 mitzvos. Okay, so that's could be the sum of our life. If we're busy doing mitzvos, that becomes our life, and it's not sitting back. It's not sitting back and watching, like, let's say, a movie or a game of watching other people live life. It's like you're living life. You're out there. You're doing it. You're in real life. You're doing things. You're helping other people. You're doing it. You're at shul. You're davening. You're helping people. You're doing all these 613 mitzvahs. So the 613, if we add all the numbers up of 613, right? We have 6 plus 1 plus 3, so we get 10. Right. So if we do all the 613, we come into the completion of 10, right? We take the 10, and the 10 is like the 10 commandments. They're the main categories of all the 613. It connects us to the 10 sephiros. It connects us to that spiritual circuit board, but it goes even deeper than that, because if we take the 10 and then we add the 1 and the 0, we get 1. So really these 613 mitzvos, they're really connecting us to the 1. They're creating to the one infinite source of life. So the only permanence, the only happiness we can have in this world or this life is when we let go of the illusion of the physical world and we connect to the source of life. So then when we get to the spiritual world, who are we close to? We're close to Hashem. We're close to, we see that now clearly Hashem's the source of everything. And we have a close personal relationship with Hashem, and we're not attached to all the fantasies of the physical world.
That
So the
that
613 are attaching us. Yeah.
again, that's true, right? In its
Yeah.
essence. But if a person doesn't believe it to be true, then he could do the commandments, and we've all seen them people doing the commandments that are not happy,
Right.
right? It's not a panacea. Oh, if you do
Right.
the commandments and you keep it,
Right.
oh, you'll be happy. You have to attribute happiness to doing that because that is your goal. That is your essence. You know what I mean? It's your belief system, what's in your heart and what's in your brain. If you believe and you know that this is the true value system, then you're happy doing it.
Right. Yeah, no, that's good. That's big because you're right. You can be in the sukkah. Seven. I think that's what Rav, Yaakov Weinberg was saying. It's not like magic happy time. We're not magically happy now for 7 days. You can be in your sukkah, and I'll tell you, it was tricky because like this year I didn't, in some ways, get to fully enjoy it as much as I wanted to, because it was like 40 degrees, and one night it was like 39 degrees at night. And I had so much fun sleeping with my sons in the sukkah. It's the greatest, like just being in that sukkah for 7 days. But you're right. Even in the mitzvah, you can get into, oh, it's too hot, it's too cold, it's too this, it's too that. And until you really dump, until you put like, bechol levacha, the kol nafshecha, the kol meodecha, until you put your really heart into it, until you put your soul into it, until you put everything you have into it, then you can you get out what you put into it. Like if you really, really like put your being into the mitzvah and you have the simcha of doing the mitzvah because you want to do the mitzvah, then you get it all out. But it's like, right, you're saying, but you can go through the motions like anything else in this world. As Shlomo Melech said, as King Solomon said, even great wisdom can be like a futile, fleeting thing because when a person dies, you take the wisdom with you. But if it's the wisdom in the Torah, if it's the Chachma in the Torah, that lasts. That you take that into the next world. But like how many mansions you have, you can't bring that into the next world. How many Super Bowl trophies, you have, you can't bring it into the next world. How many gourmet meals did you eat? Well, let's face facts. Those gourmet meals, they come out, they're not so nice when they come back out. It's not the same. It's like
Yeah, I think that people made the goal things that are futile. Like for instance, a house is meant for to give you shelter. At the end of the day, it's not meant for as a status symbol or anything other than that. Food is meant to give you energy and sustenance to your next meal, right? It's not meant to be, party in your mouth. And everything else, women, they're meant to, procreate and, show intimacy. But, other than that, that's it. It's not meant for you to fulfill every fantasy that you can in your head. And when people disconnect from the utility and the function of the thing, that's when they get lost in the story of the thing, and then that's where happiness or not happiness, anxiety, not anxiety, all the craziness, all the evils, the ills of man come into play when they attribute things that shouldn't be attributed to things that are futile. You know what I mean? Like I'll only be happy if I have a mansion. Well, what is the what's the point of the mansion? It's just to house you. It's just to keep you warm at night, to keep you, dry or cool in the summer and warm in the winter. Like it's not meant for anything else. You know what I mean? To house your belongings. You know what I mean? A place to keep your belongings. It's not meant for other things other than that. Or a car. It's meant to get you from place to place. It's not meant to show off. It's not meant to drive really fast. It's not meant to, you know what I mean? Pop wheelies or whatever, do circle or drag race with it. It's meant to get you from place to place. That's all it is. And you know what I mean? It's when people like attribute certain things that other than the function or utility of the thing, that's when they get lost. And that's when they, the unhappiness or the ills that come into a person's soul take a hold.
yeah. No, I think right. So I think you made a good point here. Like marriage. It's a great like unfortunately like we're in a world where like relationships are so like filled with turmoil right now. And it should be like the source of a person's greatest happiness, but in a lot of cases it's like a person's greatest misery right now. And I think and I think the disconnect is I think deep down like what people really want. Oh, we're at a 10-minute warning. I think deep down what people really want is they want that deep, connection with their soulmate. They want to meet their other half. But I think the tricky part is this, because your wife is your Azer Kenegdo. She's there. She's your helper, but she's the helper against you. So like if a person is really like giving their heart and soul to their life's mission, their marriage is going to be this dream because their wife is going to help them every step at their mission. But here's where it gets tricky. But if a person's getting lost in all the fantasies of this world, the wife's trying to steer them back to their mission and they're getting aggravated because like but I want to be doing this. But it's like, but if a person's really heart and soul on their mission in this world, then it's like they have this beautiful, connection, these two halves coming together. But I think unfortunately, like we're not fully living a life. Our life is, if our life is the mitzvos, then it's like we feel that missing connection. But it's like, but it's tricky now because we don't want to be steered back because we're not fully wrapping ourselves in a life of mitzvahs. I see you're in the same.
No, again, the functionality. What's the functionality of the family? Procreate, and keep on trucking on the mitzvah path. Like that's all it is. And you know, all the fights that people get into in Torah, there's two things. There's Dvar Reshut, basically like things you're permitted to do, but and Dvar Mitzvah, right? Things that are a mitzvah, commandment to do. And what most people fight about, 99.9% of people and 99.9% of fights have to do with these things, with things that are inconsequential to the utility and the functionality of life and of the family. Okay? You're only there to procreate and keep the unit together and function together to keep the commandment. Anything else, what we're going to eat, when we're going to eat, when we're going to go out, they're all things that are not necessary to argue or fight about. But then people do take them into incorrect places, and that's where any kind of disconnect comes, because people aren't aligned in the mission and the utility of the functionality of the thing.
I mean, I see, I see it a little different. I mean, because I see like Kabbalistically, the relationship we're trying to make with these spiritual constructs is we're trying to bring Zer Anpin and Nukva together, the prince and the princess. We want to bring that relationship together. So one of the deepest ways that this relationship can happen is through a marriage, right? So through, I mean, it's like it says, like it's not good for a man to be alone. Like we need this connection, and through that connection, then I think we can feel more connected to Hashem. Like when because
Well,
we're not complete. We're only half. We're half of the equation.
do
And
you
if
remember
we're not,
Jezebel? Do you remember Jezebel?
I said,
She
oh
was
yeah,
also married. Jezebel was also
oh yeah,
married.
but you know,
It,
she's
it,
not.
but,
That's
but,
not,
but, but what? She
but
led her
that's
husband
not. But
astray.
okay, look, that's not an Ashes Kayo. I mean, you know, someone can marry.
Well, that's what I'm saying. If you're not aligned with the goal, right? You have other fantasies of what life should be. That's what's going to start strife. It doesn't matter that like you want to be holy. Like the one partner wants to be holy or wants to be whatever it is. It has to be in alignment of both of them.
Yeah, but I mean, let's just say like we have a real marriage of kedushin. We have both people, both the husband and the wife, both the Abba and the Ima, and they want to be close to Hashem. Now, through the relationship with each other, they can both become, because now they can become that whole. Become that shlemos. They can have that shalom, that peace, that shalom bias. And but through that real connection, and both of them striving to come closer to each other, they can both come much closer to Hashem than an individual person can become. Like an individual person can't become, that's not the system. The system
Yeah,
is
yeah. The
the
system is
system's Adam
together.
and Chava, right?
Yep.
Now, are we doing it correctly? Unfortunately, like we're probably not, and that's why there's so much like fighting and all of this and divorce and all of this, because we're not really, because we're not really living. It's not like what Shlomo Melech's saying. Our life is not really a life of just doing mitzvos, right? It's like, no, we're doing some mitzvos and we're kind of doing some mitzvos. And
We
then,
want to have fun in a kosher way.
yeah, then I'll go to this nice restaurant, and then, we'll take a nice vacation for Chol Moed, and we'll
We
go here.
value things that we shouldn't value, and that's the whole
Yeah.
purpose of Kohelet. The whole purpose of Sukkah is to tell you, like, no, you leave your permanent residence and go to your temporary residence.
Yeah.
Realize that your life is a temporary residence. Your
Right.
permanent residence is in the next world. You can use your your temporary residence to build your permanent residence, but ultimately it's your permanent residence that you're going to go to.
Right.
You know,
That
and
no, that's yeah. That no, that's the secret. And that's the hardest lesson to learn. But that's what Sukkot is teaching us. This world is just temporary. Everything in the physical world it's wilting, it's deteriorating, it's like
so
a blink of
right.
an
So
eye.
why
Right.
so why fight over temporariness?
Right. So don't
Why
waste your
argue over
time.
temporariness?
Right. Don't waste your time on all the temporary fantasy things. Concentrate on building your life in Olam Haba. But it's tricky because we're in this world. It's like it's
That's
very
not
hard.
tricky.
It's
It's not
hard.
tricky. That's the snake.
Okay.
If
Okay.
you listen to the snake, yeah, he tricks you. If you listen to Hashem, He doesn't trick you.
Okay, so maybe right. So maybe it's as easy as, just coming out to the sukkah and enjoying it and like, being in the mitzvah. It's one of the few mitzvahs. It's like the mitzvah of mikvah, and the mitzvah of of sukkah, and then the mitzvah of Talmud Torah, of learning Torah, where our mind is just engrossed in the Torah, and then doing the mitzvahs, using our right. We can make everything holy. You can make a Suda on Shabbos or Yom Tov. You can make eating holy if you do it right. You can make eating holy. You can make sleeping. You sleep in a sukkah. You can make it holy. You can make your thoughts holy. So right, if we're on the right wavelength and we're tuned in, for the Torah and mitzvahs, that's the happiness. The happiness is like you're saying, right? When we're really living our life in Olam Haba, we can be live, but living it here in Olam Hazeh, then we're really happy. But when we get caught up in what we don't have in Olam Hazeh, then we get all miserable, bent out of shape.
But
Yeah,
again,
that's it.
we get bent out of shape in things that aren't consequential,
Yeah,
that aren't utility functions, and we attribute to them things that shouldn't be attributed to them.
yeah.
That's what gets us off our game.
I think one of the really nice lessons is like the esrog is called the pre-Eitz Hadar, right? The fruit of the beautiful fruit, right? The beautiful fruit. And like it's funny, like you're looking at this, like bumpy lemon, right? But you can see the beauty in it. You stop. You see the beauty in what Hashem's really created, where we're just running around and we don't see it. We don't see it all the time. But you can see the beauty in a little esrog, a little citron, fruit. You can see the beauty in everything. And if you can see the beauty in that, then of course, then you're going to see the beauty, in your wife, the beauty in your kids, the beauty in your family, the beauty in your friends. You'll see the beauty of the world more when we're tuned in. When we're just chasing after the fantasies, then it's all hevel havali, futility of futilities. All right, we're 1.5 minutes away. You want any closing thoughts here?
Yeah, don't chase a snake. Chase Hashem. Chase God. You know what I mean? That's
Yeah.
it. You can either
Don't
you can either chase the knowledge of good and evil, or the knowledge
yeah.
of life.
Love life, right? Well, that's it. It's that we're either attaching ourselves to good and evil, the knowledge of good and evil, or we're attaching ourselves to life. And
Yeah.
when we're attaching ourselves to life, then we're really happy. Then it's l'chaim. Then it's a real chaim. It's simchas chaim, the happiness
There
of
you
life.
go. L'chaim, l'chaim.
L'chaim the Yerushalayim to the eighth chaim. All right, so that's all we have for today. We hope. Oh, please like, share, subscribe, all the good stuff. Leave us your comments, and let's all be happy this year. Let's have a good year. We hope to see you back again soon on Sweet and Good Torah and the Gates of Mordecai.
Oh man.